Welcome back. This is Moody Monday with Johnny Tiger. The date is February 27th, 2023. I know. I missed out on the Soul Search Sunday yesterday. This is why we're doing this. What did I get up to? Well, I was actually at an art market that was part of a play, several plays at a theater that was going on from 12 noon all the way to 9:30 in the evening. Needless to say, it was a long and tiring day uh, that left me rather drained of energy and emotion by the end of the day. But uh, the positive aspect of it was there were some interesting connection and networking that was done. And I did manage to sell four pieces of Johnny Tiger artwork. Now, if you have no idea what Johnny Tiger artworks look like, then please follow me on Instagram or Twitter with at Johnny Tiger 1981, and you will be notified every time there's new artwork being done. If you find me on Facebook, follow me there, and you'll be the first to know that whenever there's an event or wherever new artworks is being sold. Um, but just in case all that is too much to do, uh, I know that we are all very busy, and sometimes you say, "Oh, I'm going to go look him up on Instagram later or Facebook later," and then things you get busy and you forget. That's okay. Here, let me quickly try to show you guys a quick sample of the artwork or one of them. Uh, I don't know how to edit video, so I'll have to do this on the fly. So give me one quick second. This piece is the newest piece that I finished just before the weekend, and this is not for sale. This piece is actually specially done for my good friend Richard, who helped look after the cats when I was away. Richard is uh, a lover of animals, and he has always been into lizards. So I drew a lizard. Um, this is for him. But this is a good example of my artwork. Now, if you guys can't see it, please, somebody let me know. Again, blind guy with a camera. I don't know if this is coming through clearly or it doesn't even work. How does it even look? So if you can see it, then let me know. So uh, yesterday we had quite a few pieces like this one that were framed and really nice looking on sale at the Vancouver BMO Art Theater, and I was able to sell four pieces of these artwork. The material, if you are wondering, is a heavy gauge aluminum, and this actually takes quite a bit of work to draw something like this. Uh, I have several different styles of art using various material, but aluminum is my favorite medium to work with. I also have artworks that I do with plastic and acrylic. Um, these were being sold for $80 a piece, and once we get it set up on the website, you will be able to buy artworks like these at johnnytiger.com. There will be catalogs, backstories, and a lot of little information that hopefully you guys will enjoy. Now, I can do a lot of videos talking about how I was taught to do art like this. As far as I know, I might be the only blind person who's attempted this art style in the world. So this is definitely something really interesting to get into. But I will leave all the backstories for another day, maybe for the website, and you guys can enjoy them when you come visit us there and maybe purchase a piece of art for yourself. Every piece of Johnny Tiger tactile art has its own unique title and serial number. And because every piece is handcrafted, there's no machinery, there's no photocopying, nothing like that. So every piece will be a, absolutely one of the kind. So uh, when you get them, they will be very, very valuable collector's item somewhere down the line because there's only one in the world. Now, most of you know by this point, if you have been following my channel, you know that one of my pet project is Night Strike Self-Defense for the Blind, where I teach self-defense to the blind community. One thing that a lot of people do not realize is this costs a lot of money because on the one hand, I do not charge my blind students any money. Uh, So any kind of workshop, any kind of conferences, any kind of event, it have to come out of pocket from me. So there's a lot of work that go into fundraising and getting donations and stuff like that. Most of the money goes toward paying for equipment, paying for extra uh, food and sometimes lodging if students from out of town need somewhere to stay. Also transportation. Sometimes if a blind student may live 3 hours away, he or she is not going to take the bus and travel 3 hours to come attend a martial art workshop. So in this case, in cases like that, we have to think about maybe subsidize for their transportation. So there's a lot of behind the scene cost that's involved in addition to teaching self defense, which of course takes time on my part. Now, I have no problem investing times and not getting paid, but when money have to come out of my account, this eventually becomes a problem, especially when I am kind of poverty stricken to begin with. So part of the ongoing goal right now is if I can produce and sell Johnny Tiger tactile artwork on a regular basis, this money will go into paying for Night Strike self-defense for the blind. Whether this will succeed or not will be in everybody's hand. Everyone who support us, who buy my artwork, who support the channel, who spread the word, you're helping. You're helping making blind people's life a little bit more free, a little bit more safe, a little bit more healthy. Now, that sounds like I just spent the entire video today promoting my own artwork and promoting my own project. But it's important. It's something important to me. It's something that I think is important to the community that need to be said. In addition to selling artwork, yesterday, like I said, there were a couple of performances and plays and involved. I do want to talk a little bit about that, and this may come across as a little bit of a negativity. You don't hear negativity from Johnny Tiger that often, I hope, but I'm human. Sometimes there are things that I need to get off my chest, and I feel that it need to be said. One of the shows that I actually took part in watching was a cabaret, and it was in the format of there were multiple people that would go up there, either perform a story or a poem or a song or tell their personal stories. it's kind of like watching a high school talent show. If you ever been to one of those, you know how torturous that experience can be. Most of these people were minority or disabled people or people who felt that they had a story that need to be heard. Now, personally, I have no problem with that. Like, I think everybody have a story that need to be heard. Everybody have their own story. But after about half an hour of this cabaret, I was ready to scream because every person up there was basically saying, I'm so oppressed. My community is so badly treated. We are so wronged. Look at us. You don't know the torture we're going through. You don't know the torment we're going through. You don't know how difficult it is to be me. To give you kind of a context, okay, like imagine you are sitting there in a room of 100 people in a very uncomfortable chair and a very uncomfortable seat, and you're straining to hear what these performers are saying or reading, because, like I said, some of them were poetry. You're straining your ear, trying to hear what exactly they were saying. And the first 2 minutes, you have a guy who go up there. I am a black guy. I'm a 30-year-old black guy living in Canada. I oppose slavery. We have been wronged for hundreds of years, and even now we face inequality. Blah 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 blah. Okay, Black History Month. I get it. And then after he's gone, the next person go up. I'm a transgender woman living in Canada. You have no idea of the struggle we go through. We did not ask to be born in this body. People think we are crazy, and we are not. And we get uh, uh, we get mistreated and mislabeled and blah 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 blah. All right, I understand that. I get it. Uh, it definitely bad situation. I understand we need to be more tolerant and understanding and knowledgeable on the subject. Thank you. And then the next person go out. I'm a person in a wheelchair. You have no idea what we have to go through. You have no idea how difficult it is when and we go into a building and there's no stairs and we have to ask for help and how difficult it is to get assistance. Blah 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 blah. And it's basically this same stuff for a whole hour. I felt like I was back in Psychology 101, attending one of those workshops where everybody were given half an hour to tell how abused you are, all the traumas you went through, and everybody have to act interested and sympathetic and oh my God, that's so horrible. I felt like I was back doing that. Look, it's I'm not even saying that these people shouldn't tell their story. I'm not saying that. I totally agree. Everybody deserves to be heard. Everybody have their story. I understand that. That's partly why I have my own channel, so I can tell my own story. But when you run a show and you have an hour of this going on, it's going to be counterproductive. Number one, most people in the audience were family and friends and other disabled people or other gay people or other transgender people or other black people or other native indigenous people. We know. Trust me, we know. We heard these stories a million times. We feel these stories a million times. Okay? We don't it's not going to achieve anything. It's not going to make me feel any more driven or motivated or inspired to listen to this stuff an hour straight because I already know. Now, if Justin Trudeau was in the audience, then by all means, do a 5 hour session and hit him with 5 hours of sob stories. No problem. Yeah, he deserves it. Just hit him with that, right? Maybe that will change something. But when the audience is comprised of friends and families, we want something fun. We need something new, refreshing, lighthearted. We don't need an hour of feeling that we should be feeling sorry for somebody. That's number one. Number two, look, Johnny Tiger. Who is Johnny Tiger? Johnny Tiger is a totally blind person who's been blind since 3 years old, whose face is uh, somewhat disfigured by Steven Johnson syndrome, still bear the scars of countless surgeries, who is totally deaf in 1 year, who has suffered endlessly child abuse and physical abuse in his teenage years and childhood, who has experienced going from being a very rich family's child to being poverty stricken, who has been hit by cars, who has been homeless, who has been stabbed, who has been beaten. Johnny Tiger has been through all this. This is who Johnny Tiger is. So at this point in time, I hate to say this, very few of these stories will make me feel that it's that big of a deal, right? Now, this is not a game of comparing my trauma is worse than your trauma. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I have it worse than anybody else, because there are definitely people who have it worse than me. But I'm saying that after all this I have gone through, it's going to be very, very difficult to convince me that because you are a black person in your 30s and you live in Canada, but you still have both working eyes, you still have four working limbs, that your story is worth my time. Okay? It's going to be very difficult to convince me of that, especially when I already heard 10 previous stories talking about how badly off they are before yours. I'm just saying that. Right? This is not a good format. If your goal is to entertain me or have any kind of effect on telling me these stories, this is not going to work. Uh, so that's basically my gripe against the little cabaret that I took part in, I watched yesterday. It's good. It gives people a voice, gives people a chance to tell their story. But I feel as part of the audience and as part of the as a person who is already disabled and know all this stuff, I felt that I had sob stories shoved down my throat and shoved up my rectum. I felt I was being stuffed on both from both end with how sorry you should feel for me, and it did not work. Okay, doesn't work. Now to end today's episode in a higher note, I want to tell you guys a true story that actually happened this last week. Now, a lot of you that have been watching my Toy Thursday know that I've been talking about selling off my Star Wars collection. And honestly, it was a hard decision to make. It was an adult decision to make, but it was a hard decision to make. It's crazy, but I'm going to say like selling off my Star Wars collection felt a little bit like selling off a child. You know how people talk about the people in third world countries, like sometimes like places like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Sometimes they have like 20 children and they can't afford to feed them, so they end up having to sell one to feed the rest. I felt a little bit like that. Okay, selling my collection did not make me feel good, but it had to be done. Uh, but that's neither there or here. Okay, that's just something I want to get across. Um, So when I was packaging up my Star Wars collection, I noticed I noticed that hey, Darth Maul is missing a lightsaber. And then I remember, yeah, oh yeah, actually it's been a couple of years since I saw Darth Maul's second lightsaber. As some of you know, the Darth Maul character wields a double-bladed lightsaber. So one of the blade was missing, and I remember clearly when it went missing. It was like 2 years ago when I was switching out my display, and Darth Maul took a tumble off the shelf. It fell off the shelf, and the lightsaber flew out of his hand and went missing. And I've been looking for it on and off for the past 2 years. No luck. Just wasn't anywhere. Uh, and I just couldn't understand where that could have gone to, but it wasn't to be found. So when I sold my Star Wars collection, I had to send the buyer a message and said, "I'm really sorry, but the Darth Maul action figure is not going to be complete because he's missing one of his lightsabers. I'm sorry about that." And I almost felt like I should just keep Darth Maul because he was an incomplete figure, and um, he's never going to be sold for a high price or anything because he's missing that lightsaber. After I sent the email, my younger cat, Aslan, came over to me, and I felt him drop something on the top of my foot. It was the missing lightsaber. Life is amazing, and kitty cats are amazing animals sometimes.